Peter Boland case. So Peter Boland, age 9, went missing on August 1957 in New Zealand. This was more than 66 years ago. 9-year-old Peter Boland had gone missing whilst at a farm near Opotiki in the eastern bay of Plent. No trace of him has ever been found. Peter's family have found a little closure from a coroner's report as they can finally receive an official record of his death. Police and locals had searched the farm and surrounding bush in the time, and it appears as though Peter's disappearance was not treated as suspicious and investigated to the modern standards. No police records or files seem to have been kept, which means everyone except Peter's family seem to have forgotten about the missing child. But this was up until 2017. The circumstances of Peter's disappearance was featured in Sensing Murder TV show. The police opened a missing persons file while new information had came to light. The officer in charge, Detective Senior Sergeant Rob Lamoto, had told the Boland family that he was determined to put right the apparent failure to properly investigate at that time. Peter had lived in Auckland, and this was with his parents and his brother Gavin, and he had been gone on a holiday. And this was on a farm in the Waiuika Gorge, when he had been reported missing by 4 men that had been staying on the bush-clad property with him. The men, 3 of whom are currently still alive and are now in their 80s, says that Peter went missing on the morning of August the 31st, 1957, while looking for horses near the farmhouse. Police interviewed the surviving trio, Ken Woods, his brother-in-law Arthur Braston, and Peter Inez Smith, as well as other witnesses involved in the original search. The investigation eventually exhausted all lines of inquiries. There was insufficient evidence to determine the cause of Peter's disappearance or to prosecute anyone in the case. So the case was handed to the Chief Coroner's Office in 2020. Given the passage of time since 1957, a number of potential witnesses and or interested parties to this inquiry had either passed away or unable to give evidence due to frailty. For those reasons, the coroner, Matthew Bates, decided to make his findings on the evidence available to him, such as a witness statements, rather than holding an inquest hearing. The 3 men then interviewed by the police all had different recollections of the last time that they had seen Peter alive. Interviews with Kenneth Woods, who had then spoke to the police in December 2018 and May 2019, were unable to be completed, and this was because of his age and his frailty. But he had told the police that Peter Boland had been with Peter Inez Smith and himself on the farm looking for some horses. The 2 men left Peter at a clearing that was near a riverbank and told him to wait while they kept searching the woods. When they returned, he was gone. Woods had said then that they assumed that Peter was with the other 2 men on the farm, Arthur Bracings and the late Les Smith, but realised that there was a mistake when all 4 men eventually met later. The alarm was then raised and then the search had begun. Arthur Bracing, who was Woods' brother-in-law, was also interviewed in December 2018. His memory was that of Peter Boland was searching for horses, but was with Les Smith and himself, not Woods Inez Smith. When they had found the horses by the river, Bracing had said that they sent Peter off on foot to tell the others. Peter Inez Smith had another recollection altogether. He remembered a early morning when he saw Woods headed out from the farm of the homestead on the horseback with Peter sitting behind him. From there, Inez Smith went a different way from Mr. Woods and Peter, who had went further up the steep ridge. That was the last time Mr. Inez Smith recalled seeing Peter. At the time, the farm was somewhere between 50,000 and 10,000 acres of land, as described as rough country, being broken in with a mix of steep hills and deep valleys covered with bush and bracken. A river and streams run through the farm. The four men raised the alarm, and despite the extensive search in 1957, no body, remains, clothing, or items of the personal nature belonging to Peter were found. In his findings, they had released that the coroner, Bates, had said that where Peter went remains a mystery, but it was likely that the 9-year-old had died on that farm that was not very far from where he was last seen. The search appeals then commenced the morning of Peter's disappearance. These would have included voice appeals. No responses from Peter was received. Coroner Bates said Peter was either silenced due to an accident or for some unknown reason, or he managed to travel outside of the earshot of those that had been searching for him. Coroner Bates then considered several scenarios. The first was that Peter became disorientated and got lost on the farm, eventually succumbing to the elements, or had an accident such as a fall which incapacitated or killed him. Or Peter was a victim at the hands of someone else, either by accident or unlawful act, and his body was then hidden or disposed of. There is no compelling evidence available to support this scenario, the coroner had said. This is an unlikely scenario, given it will require several individuals to have conspired to prevent others from locating Peter during the large-scale search that had been followed. The coroner also considered that the possibility that in any of the possible scenarios, wild pigs discovered Peter's body, they would have no difficulty removing any trace of it within a matter of days, while there was insufficient evidence to determine the cause of death. Coroner Bates made the official finding that Peter was deceased more than 66 years after he first had gone missing. Although many years have passed, the memory of Peter as a young boy full of energy and enthusiasm and a sense of adventure lives on through those who knew him. Coroner Bates said, in extending his condolences, Peter's family sought finality and some form of official record, and this was with the issue of these findings. A death certificate may also follow. I hope this will bring some closure for the family. Gavin Boland, Peter's brother, had said it was disappointing but not surprising that many questions remain unanswered, and this is about his brother's death. It would have been nice to have found his body from the family's point of view, Gavin Boland had said. It's just a shame that my mother never got to see the official death certificate, because she never got to have a proper service for him, as there was no formal proof of death after such a long time. This was more than we ever expected, so we are very thankful for our efforts, especially from the ones who was involved.